Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Luis, I go by Garudapura online, and today we're going to be discussing the Richter-Rauzer, but not the mainline stuff. We're going to be discussing that in another video. For now, I want to discuss the mainline alternatives that black can choose for move 6. So we're going to go into the Richter-Rauzer via e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c6, d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, and knight c6. And here after bishop g5, the modern way to play, and I think I still believe it's the best way to play, is to play the move here e6. And then there's some setup here that I'll just show here with queen d2 and playing a6, castles on the bishop d7. This is the modern way to play. I think virtually every person with an engine or who's analyzed these lines recognize that this is the best way to play for black. But we're not gonna be discussing that today. We're going to be discussing the bulk of theory that's gonna come after either the move queen b6 here, the move a6 here, or the move bishop d7 here. First off, I don't think it's I still believe that playing the move e6 in this position is the best way to play. And personally, I don't think I'm gonna ever choose any of these other lines on move 6. But just for the sake of our understanding, I think that it's important to cover these lines to know why we don't want to go into these lines instead of just like believing literature. And yeah, I believe that we just need to like travel this type of territory ourselves. So without further ado, maybe we're gonna go to the first move, which is the move queen b6. I think that this is already not a very good option because first off, there's the move knight b3 here, and so this makes sense, just trying to retreat. And basically, for example, after e6, white already has the option of taking on f6, for example, and gf6. And I'm not sure that black has accomplished much from the opening. First off, maybe we can say that like this knight is on b3 is maybe misplaced or whatever. But I still think that maybe the queen on b6 is not really that great. And normally in the Richter-Rauzer, we try to play a6, b5. But in here, I think that our queen on b6 actually restricts us from playing a6 and b5 because we need to move our queen one more time. And then only then can we play a6, b5. And so that's maybe why I don't think that queen b6 is even though it's interesting, I don't think it's particularly good. There's also the move bishop e3 here that I think sacrifices the pawn on b2, but I believe it's also dangerous to take with like knight c b5 coming here, or even knight d b5, threatening rook b1, trapping the queen, and also threatening knight c7 check. And I think, yeah, this is already pretty much winning for white. So that's just a bit of the queen d6 move, very short. The next move is a6. So even though we've discussed that like normally we play e6 first and then only then we play a6. A6 is definitely a move. It's quite a rare move, but we're in this position we're actually allowing black or white rather to take on f6 and damage our structure, which is one of the reasons why I don't particularly like this line, because white can immediately do that and get basically a pretty good position. For example, after bishop f6, gf6, and like either queen d2 and trying to go e6. I'm gonna say that this is already gonna be slightly better for white, and they don't ever need to. White never has to take on c6 because we can take the pawn to the center, and then we're suddenly gonna get a massive pawn center there. And so without this knight takes c6 being forced, I think that white is gonna have quite a clear advantage actually, proceeding to the middle game after like castles. And we have to play a move like bishop d7 to defend our knight on c6 before we can play b5. And in general, I'm not really keen to have this compromised pawn structure unless we're getting something concrete in return. So yeah, after this move a6, there's also obviously the move queen d2, but I think that after queen d2, we can just simply transpose to actually like the mainline stuff. And this is already like a fine position that we'll go over the theory in another video. but a6 just allows bishop f6, which is why I don't particularly like it. And here, the move, maybe the most serious option against against the main lines in the Richter-Rauzer is the move bishop d7. This has been tried in the past and it's been used, maybe not to great success, but it's still definitely an option here. But there's only maybe like one problematic line that I have with this entire setup, which I will show after we discuss all of the variations. So here, white can simply play bishop e2, after which we can play queen a5, which is one of the ideas behind the bishop d7 line. It's that we want to play queen a5, so we're trying to pressure this bishop and either prepare a6 and b5 or just play this kind of position with a queen on a5, which is quite active. But against queen a5, white can simply take on f6, and after gf6, we have this compromised pawn structure, but this also transposes to the main line, which we will discuss after the seventh move, queen d2. So this is like the main line, basically, of the bishop d7 Richter-Rauzer. But just recapping this bishop e2 line, we can just go queen a5, bishop f6, gf6, and this transposes. And there's also another move, bishop f6, obviously. And after gf6, we can see that positionally, it's looking pretty grim for black here, because we have first off a pawn structure which looks terrible, and we're also weakening the d5 and f5 squares. And so at some point, if we don't play e6, then white can try to occupy these squares. And against bishop f6 and gf6, for example, knight f5 is even an option here. And after the thematic move queen a5, bishop b5, a6, bishop c6, and bc6 here. Okay, bishop c6 is possible, but after castling, I think that it's getting really hard for black to play e6 here, because our d6 pawn is critically weak, and which is one of the reasons why knight f5 is such an interesting and even a viable move here. So for example, bc6, queen d3 is possible, and after one of the more logical moves being rook g8, trying to apply pressure here, white can simply castle, and we're gonna have a king in the center. We don't really want to castle queenside because it's gonna get very dangerous even then, and I don't think that black has any real hopes to even fight for an advantage or even fight for equality at this point. So yeah, that's one of the options. There's obviously, besides knight f5 immediately taking control of the light squares, there's also the move bishop e2, just a calm way of approaching the position. And after which queen a5, we'd go with the same idea. White can simply castle, knight takes d4, queen d4, and for example rook c8. And based on the literature that I've read, a4 is a logical move here, controlling b5 extensively, preparing to put one of the pieces there even. And we can try to trade the queens here with queen c5, but I believe that white doesn't even need to take, and I really don't see how in this position black is going to get there. Black is going to be happy with the king being placed in the center, and with this compromised pawn structure, it's going to be quite a tough endgame even if we simplify. So that's one of the possible lines. And a6 was one of the moves I believe I mentioned in the in Yermolinsky's book, but after the strong move queen a7, which the engines found, we're gonna have a lot of trouble here with the b7 pawn being critically weak. Knight d5 is even coming, and for example bishop c6 looks logical just to prevent knight d5, but suddenly we get hit with bishop b5 here, and I think we're already basically close to just straight up losing here. If we take, then obviously we're gonna lose the piece again, and even knight d5 can come. And so for example queen c7, bishop c6, queen c6, knight d5, and bishop g7 looks logical, but suddenly we get hit with rook a3, and rook c3 or rook g3 is coming, and we're just lost here. So that circles back to this line with bishop f6. Maybe the most principled approach is just to go for queen d2 and try to go for a Richter-Rauzer type setup here with castles here. And I think the best option here is okay, maybe e6 runs to knight b5, which is a problem. And so other moves like a6, we can go white can go castles, and if we play a move like b5, we can suddenly get hit with knight c6, bc6, and queen e3, where it gets unpleasant. We're being threatened e5, f4, and e5 is going to come, and white is going to have constant initiative here. And against the most historically, what has been the main move in this position is rook c8. White can simply castle here, which is the old main line here. And after, for example, knight takes d4, queen d4, queen a5, we have threats of rook c3, for example. And so there are moves like bishop d2, which just prevents rook c3. But I think white can even get away with playing f4 and allowing this rook takes c3 sacrifice, because even though this looks strong, after bc3, e5 is the recommended move, and queen b4 here, and basically we're forced to trade. Otherwise, we're gonna our king is gonna get like very in a suspect position. And like, for example, queen c7, I believe it just runs into bishop f6, and our structure here is terrible. Our king is not happy here, and we're just down an exchange for basically nothing. So which is why I don't like this line. So for example, like, we can trade and we can see how this endgame peters out. Knight takes e4, and for one of the annotations was that in the book was that this position has been known for at least as of 2021, it's been known for over 25 years. The idea being either knight f2 or knight c3. But after bishop h4 and g5 was a recommended move in literature. F takes g5, bishop e7, and the move bishop c4. For example, we can just follow this line with h6, rook hf1, castles, rook de1, hg5, rook e4, and gh5 or gh4. This doesn't seem like enough competition for black to work with. I don't think black can actually save this position. This bishop is extremely strong. The rooks are going to get active. This is quite an open position with open lines. This rook is great. The king can even step forward at some point. This is not looking very good. And this is maybe one of the maybe the most critical line, which I think is the best option. Which is the best option for white, is instead of castling in this position, white can immediately go f4. So the idea behind f4 is that in this move order, white does not want to allow even the possibility of rook takes c3, and even like trying to get some play or with the exchange sacrifice. So white wants to completely avoid that. And for example, knight takes d4, queen takes d4, and queen a5 is the logical continuation. White immediately has the move e5 here, and this suddenly gets really sharp. There are many moves here, but essentially only one move is playable here. So for example, rook c3 just runs into queen c3, and after queen c3, bc3. For example, knight e4, targeting c3 and this bishop. White can go bishop d3 here, knight g5, fg5, and e6. So just preparing bishop takes d6 once this happens. But after rook b1, we're going to get pressure down this file even. And for example, after bishop b5, black does not have enough activity for the exchange. And I think this is going to end up basically just a simple position where we're down an exchange for nothing. So de5, for example, bishop d7, king d7, rook f1, king e8, a4, and with this a5 move can't be stopped basically, and I think that white is pretty much winning here. This is going to be slow grind, but it's going to be winning. And so rook c3 doesn't work. H6 also doesn't work because of EF6. And like, for example, if we take here, we're going to get forked. And okay, I mean, if we have to go E5, you can see how bad this is going to be. So we don't need to go any further. Knight E4, trying to make use of this pin and like argue that Queen E4, Rook C3 can happen. But suddenly here B4 hits and we're losing straight up just the whole piece. So yeah, that doesn't work. And so the only move here is D takes E5, after which F takes E5 can happen, and E6. So this is this is first off a very important move, just to like not allow E takes F6 because we have Queen G5, and suddenly maybe we're gonna get the bishop into this long diagonal, and we might be straight up okay here because White can't even castle long, and we're gonna be fine here. So instead of that, White can simply castle and threaten this bishop. And other moves like bishop c5. Okay, bishop c5 is the engine's top recommendation, but apparently after queen d3 or even like queen d2, knight d5, we're forced to give up a pawn here, and I don't think we're going to be very happy with queen d5 and like bishop c6 or bishop e6. And after queen b3, which has been played 2 times apparently, yeah, this should be a very good position. If we castle, White's still going to get like 2 massive bishop pair. Two massive and extremely strong bishop pair, so we should be worse here. And if we go like the move bishop c6, which is in most recommendations, White has the extremely strong knight b5, which was introduced by Grandmaster Viktor Kupreichnik. The idea being that once we play bishop takes b5, we're not putting pressure on this bishop anymore. And so there's like this sort of interesting 5th rank obstruction kind of idea. And so after e takes f6, which is possible now, we have to play bishop c6, the only move, because bishop a4 is a blunder. First off, it attacks c2 and it attacks g5. But suddenly after the move h4, we don't have any attack here anymore. Bishop c2 or rook c2 don't work. I mean, rook c2 just king b1. And we're forced to play a move like g6 here. And suddenly we can see like h5 is going to come. We're going to get crushed here. Our king is never going to find a safe place. So instead of bishop a4, bishop c6 only move. And suddenly h4 hits. And we're then again forced to play g6. Because if rook g8 happens, then a move like bishop c4, gf6, and queen f6, for example. There are ideas of like sacking on e6, and for example after rook g6, queen f4, h6, bishop f6, and rook takes g2. Rook hf1 comes, and yeah, White is absolutely crushing black here with the pressure. So that's this entire line. I think is basically terrible for black. Which is exactly why I don't recommend playing alternatives to the main line with this bishop d7 idea. So just going back, this is actually useful for all of you that are playing against the Classical Sicilian. So maybe we'll take this opportunity to look at this from the white side. Just recapping the line that I recommended, which is e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, cd4, knight d4, knight f6, knight c3, knight c6, and bishop g5. If they play the move bishop d7 here, then we can simply go queen d2, and against rook c8, now we play the move f4. The idea is that we need to anticipate that they may be wanting to sack on c3, even though it's not even that good. I believe that, basically this f4 idea is maybe even stronger. So after knight d4, queen d4, and queen a5, we can simply play e5 here, and we're going to get a lot of attacking potential here. d5 only move, fe5, and e6. Then we can castle. And against bishop c5, we can just simply go queen d3 or queen d2. They both look good. And against bishop c6, then we can play the move knight b5. So this is a very important thing to remember. After bishop b5, the only move basically, ef6 and bishop c6, we play the move h4. So planting this bishop in, threatening f takes g7, and after g6, we can play bishop c4, defending a2, and putting pressure over here. Rook hf1 can come. This is going to be lights out pretty soon, I think, at least practically speaking. So I think that's pretty much it from me for this video. Yeah, so I guess thank you everyone again for watching this video. I think this is quite a short video, another addition to the like under 30-minute videos in the series, but hopefully you all are enjoying it and can learn a thing or two from these videos. So yeah, thanks again for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and do follow me on other platforms, which you can see in my link tree. I also stream on Twitch a lot, and yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Stay safe and have fun playing chess. Bye bye.